So Nick, when you decided to, this franchise journey, I'm curious about your research and, going into whether we should franchise and who we should go with, because I do speak to either emerging founders or people that are looking to actually franchise their concept. So I'd love to hear both of you, your take on like what was going on in your mind when you were thinking of franchising, and how do we get help with this? And obviously you ended up with Rep 'em, but I'd love to hear more about before you made that decision.
Yeah, like anything else, we didn't know what we didn't know. So, the way my brain works is I want to absorb as much information as I could. So, read all the books, did a bunch of blog research, as much as I could to understand how this world works, because it's so different from anything that I've ever seen in my business career. Like just the nuances and how it works and how you sell it and how you manage it. Like it was like learning a foreign language. So we really, took our time and tried to approach people that we had trusted along the way that had been in franchising themselves to hear, how did you guys navigate this? Like, what are the pros and cons of potentially doing it yourself versus partnering with somebody, like a franchise sale organization? And that probably took a year, where we kind of went down that path and talked to consultants and lawyers and all that stuff, trying to figure out like what the right path was. So it wasn't something that was necessarily a knee-jerk reaction to get us where we ultimately got. But I think Nick and I realized, if we were to do this ourselves, it probably would have taken many, many years to get to where we are today. So in our opinion, it was probably a lot faster and more efficient for us to get to market by partnering with somebody who knew what they were doing. And that was probably the most important thing for us, particularly with a concept like Homestretch, which is new. We're kind of creating this home preparation industry. We wanted to be fast, and we didn't want to waste years, while we struggled figuring out how the franchise mechanics worked.
So I'm curious to know about your strategy moving forward. You've got the 3 corporate locations. You now have 4 franchise locations. Do you plan on opening any additional corporate locations, or are you going just straight into franchising from here on out?
TBD. Our focus right now is completely on the franchise aspect. We want to make sure that everyone we bring on is fully supported and successful. So that's where all our time and energy is going to be for the foreseeable future. But, we are kind of having a Midwestern hub here. So it might make sense for us to add a couple more corporate locations again, so we can test different concepts, so we can kind of experiment with different things that then we could then kind of release out to the entire franchise network.
And then, of course, one of the big questions people have when they do franchise in their mind is, do I just continue to grow regionally, which is what you've done, or do I blow this thing out and go shotgun approach across the country? What are your thoughts now that you're working with Rep 'em? And I assume they're selling franchises for you. That's part of their job. So what's the strategy for you guys in terms of expansion?
Yeah, I mean, our goal, and again, this kind of came into fruition probably right after Columbus or 2021 when we thought we had something on our hands. Like Nick and I are passionate about making Homestretch synonymous with the home preparation market. Like we want to be the national leader in the home prep space. We have been an early leader on it. We want to own that market. We want Homestretch to be a verb. So when people are about to sell their house, they type in Homestretch, all over the country. So for us, the only way that was feasible was to get out quickly. And I think that's, probably not unique for everybody, but for our concept, we know that this concept, works for anybody who's selling their house. Anybody that's been through a death, a downsize, or divorce needs a service like this. So it is one of those unique services where we think it can get out, from a regional focus all across the country, maybe faster than some other concepts that, need to stay regional before they kind of get their bearings.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Nick, who would you say is your ideal franchise owner? What are some of the traits that you think they need to have to be successful?
I'd say our ideal franchise owner is someone who's passionate, about helping people, someone who's passionate about business. It's a fun business. This isn't just, it's not just one of those businesses you buy and it's just mailbox money. It's fun. It's enjoyable. You get to go into someone's home when they're stressed out. They don't know which way to turn. They don't know where to start, right? You can take a home that is, say, in pretty rough shape. It's been beat up for 20 years. It's got stains on the carpet. It's got holes in the walls. And you can transform that property within a matter of weeks and then turn it over to the realtor. The realtor's thrilled because they have a better product to sell because it's fresh, it's clean, it's freshly painted. The client's happy because they got the project done quickly. We show up on time. We provide a quote in 24 hours. We answer the call. If there's a problem, we fix it. If we forget to clean a closet, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me get over there in 30 minutes and clean the closet. So we do the basics, the business 101 stuff. So it's someone who's passionate about business and passionate about helping people.
And I would imagine that they have to be outgoing, and networking has got to be key, right? Developing relationships with real estate agents and real estate brokers, because ultimately they're the direct artery, right, to the clients.
Yeah, and that's another aspect we love about it too. Is my background sales, Derek's is more finance operations. So you kind of need a business development person, and you also need an operations person, a project manager. And what I like on the sales side is when we're networking and talking with realtors, I'm not asking them to spend money with me. I'm letting them know about a solution to some of their problems. You now have a referral source that you can rely on, you can count on, that's going to answer the phone, that's going to show up at 10 a.m. when they say they're going to. They're going to provide a quote quickly. So I'm just asking those realtors to refer me to their clients that are stressed. So we always say it's a win-win-win. We get to run a nice business, the realtor gets a service that's reliable, and the client gets an end product that is better than when they started.
What's a reasonable number of projects that a franchisee can handle at any one time, you think?
That's the fun part, is we figured out how to scale it. We started with 2 projects a month. We started with 3 projects a month. Now we do north of 30 projects a month in Cincinnati. Corporately, I don't want to get into too many specifics on numbers,
sure.
But, corporately, I think we've gone above 50 projects in a month, and we've figured out how to scale the business. So a reasonable number, it kind of varies on how many leads you receive, and how quickly you can scale. But we figured out all those formulas of how do you do 15, 20 painting and flooring jobs in a month? And we have that secret sauce on exactly how to do it.
What does training and support look like for you guys?
It's robust. So we have a 3-day training program in Cincinnati, Ohio. We have an online data repository of all the training videos, all the documentations, kind of everything that goes into Homestretch. And, like we talked about earlier, our goal, especially in this first year, as we're kind of refining everything, is to kind of bear hug all our franchisees and make sure that they are fully supported, trained, and have the complete knowledge of how to operate a Homestretch. So it's robust, and we've only had 1 training so far, but they're off and running. So hopefully we'll only make it better from here.
Oh yeah. It's work in progress, right?
Always. Yeah.
Always.
I mean, it's our motto. Nothing's ever complete. We can always make it better, and we always will.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.